We're returning to Premier League action this week for game week 6 as Chelsea take on Aston Villa in a home tie at Stamford Bridge. But who will play and how do Chelsea win? Let's get to it. Lads, lasses and the rest of the masses, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mono from Mono CFC and welcome to the lead-in. Like always, I'm going to be predicting the lineups that I feel will play and show how I believe each team could set up tactically. So without further ado, let's firstly look at our opponents for this match. Aston Villa are currently sitting in 7th in the Premier League table, just 1 point off of the top 6. They've had a good start to the season, winning 3 games against Everton, Burnley and most recently Crystal Palace, but losing the remaining 2 to Newcastle and Liverpool. There's a very clear pattern at play here, with Villa being superb at beating lower to mid-table teams, but struggling against the bigger clubs at the moment. Their team has had a large transformation in the last season or two, bringing in some quality, experienced players, as well as promoting some younger prospects too. Taking a quick look at their arrivals, we can see the most notable of these being Moussa Diaby, Pau Torres, Clément Lenglet, Nicolo Zaniolo and Yuri Tielemans. Looking at the head-to-head, we can see that it's been relatively one-sided recently between the two clubs, but in the not too distant past, Villa were able to get a result against us, beating us 2-0 last season. They're coming into this game off the back of a disappointing and rather humbling 3-2 defeat to Legia Warsaw in the Europa Conference League, and will be looking to bounce back against the Chelsea side that is in woeful form as of late. So how will they plan on trying to achieve that? Let's look at the team. Aston Villa, managed by the record 4-time Europa League winner Unai Emery, have used a variety of formations so far this season, including the 3-4-3, the 4-4-2, but most often have opted to use the formation I'll be putting them in for this one, the 4-2-3-1. First up in goal, I'm going to be putting in World Cup winner Emi Martinez. Not much needs to be said here, Martinez is by far the best keeper at the club, and as long as he's fit, he shall start. For the back four, it's going to be unchanged from their last game against Palace, with the ever-impressive Polish international Maciej Kasz at right back. The centre-back pairing of Ezri Konsa and Pau Torres will retain their place, but there is the possibility of Konsa being rested due to him starting the ECL game only a couple of days ago. The same could be said for the left-back position, but I'm going to put in Luca Dean despite this. He in particular had a rocky game in defence in that match, despite scoring one of the goals that brought them level. Moving into the midfield, let's start with the 2 holding midfielders, and I would also imagine that this would remain unchanged. Boubacar Kamara and Douglas Luiz have been a staple in the Aston Villa midfield, and I'd be very shocked if this were to suddenly change. Moving further up into the attacking midfield / winger areas, I'm going to be changing this ever so slightly from the Palace game. The right side will be occupied by Moussa Diaby, who was rested for the midweek game. The left will be filled with John McGinn, who wasn't rested but is a dynamo and never seems to need rest. And the final central role I'm going to be giving to Jacob Ramsey, coming in for a rested Nicolo Zaniolo. Finishing off the team is Villa's main striker, Ollie Watkins, but I wouldn't be surprised to see John Duran continue here as he's been in great form recently. In terms of how the villains will play, it's all going to depend on which Villa we see. Are we going to see the Villa that battered Everton, or are we going to see the Villa that rolled over against Liverpool? There's a major focus from Villa on creating space out wide for their fullbacks, mainly Luca Dean because his deliveries are so deadly. The way Villa do this is quite interesting. They use the central players as decoys, forcing the opposition team to come narrow to defend the half spaces or central areas near the box. In possession, they set up at times in what some would call a 2-2-6, with the 2 centre-backs pressed high up the pitch and Kamara there as defensive cover. Depending on which side they are using, they may opt to keep one of the fullbacks back in order to help out defensively, as they have been known to be poor at defending balls in behind with their limited numbers back. Villa are also very good at winning the ball back in midfield. They have great pace on the counter and Watkins is a fantastic ball holder / focal point to play off of, so they have the option of sitting back and breaking on teams instead if someone like Kamara or the ever industrious John McGinn wins the ball back. You'd think that Unai Emery with all his experience would know that the best way to beat us is to put a wall in front of us and to try and score from counters, but we've actually seen his Aston Villa sides take the game to bigger opposition thus far, but unfortunately it hasn't gone in their favour. We'll have to see whether or not he has learned from this mistake or not, as we have some pacey players on the counter and they could get caught out if our decision making improves, that is. One thing to note is that they do look pretty suspect defensively from set pieces too. Against Liverpool and Newcastle they struggled to track runners, and a large part of this is probably down to the absence of Tyrone Mings. We've not been the best at set plays so far, but with players like Axel Disasi in the side we always have that danger looming. Now from the villains to the blues, let's talk about Chelsea. But real quick, if you're enjoying the content and want to see more, please consider subscribing to the channel. Cheers. Let's start with the formation. We know it's going to be 4-2-3-1/4-3-3. I genuinely don't expect many, if any, changes to the side, except in terms of play style. So first up in goal, I'm going to be putting in Robert Sanchez. He had a really good game against Bournemouth, and I expect that to continue here. He seems to have settled well now, and that confidence of a clean sheet will do him a world of good, and that solidity/security will transfer down to the defenders in front of him, as they now know that he can be relied on to make a stop if needed. For the back four, I don't see it changing at all if I'm being honest. Malo Gusto continues his stint at right back as Reece James continues to recover from injury. I think Malo has been one of the standouts in this team so far this season, but he needs to improve his final ball in this one. Axel Disasi stays at right centre back, as does Thiago Silva at left centre back. Badiashile has suffered a minor setback to his recovery and won't be able to feature here. At left back, again I don't see it changing, which is something I'm not happy with. Levi Colwill starts out of position once again, and will be looking to set off the left winger down the line. In the midfield, I'm going to keep things similar again, with Caicedo returning to training later than expected. I'm not sure he'll be ready for a return after his knock, so in the defensive role it's going to be the second start in a row for Leslie Ugachukwu, who was phenomenal in his full debut. He looks so calm and composed and brings a presence to that midfield that we haven't had for some time, so long may his form continue. Next to him, I'm going to be putting in Conor Gallagher and Enzo Fernandez. Now, I'd personally like to see Enzo play in a slightly deeper role here so he can dictate play, as I believe his passes in behind are going to be vital to beating Villa in this one, and I want to see Gallagher getting into the box and scoring, not being the player on the ball. I think Leslie is perfectly capable of holding that space on his own, and I'd like Conor to push up higher as we lack numbers in attack with our system. For the three attacking players, I'm going to go with the same three as last time out: Raheem Sterling on the right, Mykhailo Mudryk on the left, and Nico Jackson down the middle. I hope that after his great 60-ish minute cameo against Bournemouth that Poch has seen the light and will continue to use Misha on the left wing. His pace and running will be so key for us to be able to get a result here. If we see Chilwell in this lineup, I'd expect it to be back at left back rather than higher up. One thing to note is that Brozier is looking close to a return, so we may see him on the bench, but I'm not exactly sure about that. The other striking option, David Washington, recently played for our youth team and actually managed to bag a great assist, so he's possibly an option off the bench too. As for how we will play, I think this game will be a lot faster paced than our previous few games, but before I talk about that, it's time for the question of the day. As always, I'm going to highlight some of the comments from the last video, so here are a few responses to the last question of the day. Thanks guys for the continued support as ever. We also just hit 15,000 subscribers as well, so an extended thanks for that. If you want your comment to be featured in the next video, leave your answer to this video's question of the day down below with QOTD at the start, as always. So for this week's question of the day, we'll go for a rather simple one. Which injured player are you most looking forward to seeing return, and why? Alright, so how will we play? Well, I think this game will be scrappy. We know Villa are a high energy team and will try to press us hard and fast, but there are questions of how fit they will be after only a few days of rest after their midweek game. Chelsea obviously have an entire week of rest and should be, by all accounts, the fresher team here. I don't want to constantly repeat myself from previous videos, so I'll try to keep this short and sweet in terms of our tactics. First things first, I think we should just keep doing as we've been doing. We create tons of chances, but we need to see a change in our final third. The decision making needs to be better, faster and more routine. We need to identify which players are getting success and give them the ball. We didn't see this against Bournemouth. We saw Mudryk have flashes of brilliance, but he rarely got the chance to show that brilliance. He's dangerous with confidence, we must feed him when able. Aston Villa aren't a small team anymore. They will try to get at us, they try to play with possession, and that might be to our benefit. We saw from the Bournemouth game that we were easily able to play out from the back through their press, but once we had beaten it, we didn't look as confident. I'd suggest a change in philosophies. Play the ball long after spells of not having the ball, and let Jackson fight for it. Cause some chaos, be a nuisance. Put the ball in behind for Mudryk, let him use his pace when the attack-minded Villa fullbacks get high. We have seemingly lost our identity as a club, which was built off of pragmatism and transitions. If we aren't going to do this, then we simply need to improve the play on the ball. We can't play as slow as we have been doing. We can't be ignoring runs in behind, and once again the final ball needs to be better. Let Jackson and Mudryk show that interplay we saw once or twice in the Bournemouth game. Don't give Villa the chance to put bodies behind the ball and sit there. We need to shift the ball faster before they can react. We know we can do this because we saw it in pre-season, and one injury to Nkunku should not instantly make the entire system fall apart. Go back to basics because we need to start seeing results, not just good performances. Dare I say this is a must-win game for Poch. We are in for an absolute belting considering some of the teams that are coming up soon, and we have to capitalise on Villa's misfortune in midweek. If we score the first goal, I think Villa's heads could drop. They will already be tired, and if we are to beat them, now is as good a chance as any. For a score prediction, I think we will win this game, more so because of the fact that we need to, and how well we defend at times. I'm going to go for 1-0 Chelsea. I don't expect us to score from open play, but I don't expect us to concede either. Villa's crossing style will favour Robert Sanchez's hands, quite literally, and I think we'll bag a scrappy goal from a deflected shot in the box following a corner or something to that effect. I'm going to say that our goal will come from a rather unlikely source, Conor Gallagher. I'm not particularly confident we can get a result, but as always I'll back our boys in blue till the end. But that was just my lead-in match preview for Chelsea vs Aston Villa. Thank you ever so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on these possible lineups in the comment section below, and if you'd be so kind, subscribe to the channel and leave the video a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss a video from me, or check out some of the other videos on the channel on screen right now. I've been Mono from Mono CFC, and remember, in the rain or in the dry, keep that blue flag flying high. Come on, you Blues.